Hello everyone, welcome to Low Rent Rick Scale Modelling and my build of the Revell 176 scale Puma, a miniature diorama. I'm such a big fan of these kits. If any of you know the origins of them, uh, I think off the top of my head this might be an old Matchbox kit. But I usually get some good information from all the experts out there. So please do give me any information you've got about this kit and others like it. Are they from Matchbox? I'm not sure myself, but I'm always open to learn. Now, I built this kit very early on in my new modelling career, maybe a year or so ago. It seems like such a long time. I'm about 100 models in now. Um, but I've always been surprised at the quality of these small Revell kits. And I've seen that they do get a little bit of flack sometimes. But I think this kit is absolutely wonderful. The sprues are in awesome condition, and for just a few quid, you get quite a robust rounded model. Not only do you get the model itself, but you get like a diorama base, and there's three figures included with this. And the sprues are in just wonderful condition. So a logical place to start for me is to start with the figures and the diorama base, just getting the first bits down to see how the thing is going to come together. I'm really quite new to modelling at this stage, uh, but I think doing the parts like this and it helps the creativity. Now I'm going to see how the paint lies on the plastic and what they look like when I start adding the bits to them, and how the whole model as a whole is going to come together is really important. And the characters uh, and the diorama base will really pull it all together. And I'm really dying at this point to try something out. As you can see, I'm brush painting everything, and I'm going to try out a few little techniques to get some effects going. The diorama base, I'm going to try and go for a sort of tarmac look with the pavements on each side, a sort of stone effect. Uh, that's the way I want to do it. So I'm going to put a base coat down of some good solid grey, and then over the top of the grey on each side where the pavements are, I'm just going to use a sponge and some sort of stone or beige, just to dab away and try and maintain those lines in between the pavements in the grey. Something as simple as a crater in the middle of the tarmac really adds depth and detail and a sort of third dimension. So I'm going to try and get sort of a mud look inside there. And when it comes to the tarmac coating itself, I'm going to stipple it with black using a partially dry sponge, just to get a bit of depth onto the colour of that too. Then over the top of the whole thing with a very thin black wash, to give depth and give a bit of an extra dimension to it. Um, as you can see, I'm using paint directly off a post-it note, and I keep going back to the water to make sure it's thin enough. But I think the effect really speaks for itself. The uniform for the figures, I'm following no set pattern. What I'd really like them to have is the sort of black jackboot look with some very light trousers topped with a darker green tunic on the top. The vehicle body components and all the parts of the vehicle are going to get a quick coat while it's still attached to the sprue. It's a very watered down mix, about 50-50, and it really does give a nice smooth finish if you water it down enough and you get that nice coverage. I know they're still attached to the sprue, and I'm going to have to go over it a few times, but this will end up getting maybe two or three very thin coats. So where it's attached, it really isn't a problem. It's going to get gone over again. the next coat on all the figures now. Once I've gone over all the uniform one more time, I'm going to paint in the guns and the flesh, and then use a saddle brown or a dark mahogany brown to pick out the belts and holsters in sort of a leather effect. When I was painting the lamppost, I thought, hold on, that's bent. How have I done that? So I did have to go back and check, and it is actually supposed to have a little bit of a bend in it. So it wasn't my clumsy fingers that did it. Main body assembly went really well. It just slotted together. Uh, no problems at all. I did think it was going to be a bit fiddly. Um, you can tell how early it was in my modelling career. I thought, oh my goodness, look at all those wheels. And then moved swiftly on to tanks. So it's not that many at all, is it? Lots of the parts will be getting touching up as I go along. I would have later on, now I know more, I would have assembled and then done it all at once. But as I'm going along, I can see something, and I don't want to forget that it needs doing. So I'm just doing it as I go along here. But I have learned since to just bide my time and do it all as a complete unit. Because these wheels are fixed, and it's going to then be fixed to the diorama, I'm going to make sure that the wheel surfaces have all got a good coat of paint before they get attached to the vehicle, so I don't have to mess about trying to get under the wheel arches. And once it's fixed, I don't want to have any bare plastic showing on the backs of the wheels. For the camouflage pattern, I've cut up a brand new kitchen sponge without asking permission, and I'm poking it inside the brush head protectors that come on the Airfix brushes, and just gluing it in there. And I'm cutting one into a square and one into a triangle, and I'm just going to dab along in a random pattern with a fairly dry mix of brown and green to give it that sort of that wonderful mottled camouflage look. There were so many different camouflage patterns. I think because the crews just had to make do with what they've got and the environment they were in. So a great place for experimentation is the camouflage patterns on some of this German armour. Both the vehicle and the figures are now going to get a very, very, very thin black wash, which will make all the seams and all the details pop out and make it look not so brand new and cartoonish. To finish off the diorama base, I'm going to put a sanding disc down, and then I'm going to paint a yellow circle around it to give sort of a reflection from the lamppost. It's something I've been looking at to try and just add that extra little bit of detail, and I think this is the sort of thing that might make it pop out a bit. I've no idea how it's going to come out at this point, but I was pleased with the results. But at this point, it's just all guesswork. Final bit of detailing and washing before I apply the varnish and the decals. Again, just to make any of the seams stand out a bit. A little bit of black wash goes a long way on some of these models. It can really add that depth. A coat of Vallejo matte varnish, brush straight on. Don't worry about the areas where it stays a bit milky. It does dry out nice and crisp, and I'll keep spreading it around. Just somewhere nice for the decals to sit on, although there's not that many of them. And there we are with the finished article, and I was really pleased considering it was only about my 4th or 5th model. The chance to do a bit of armour, a diorama and some figures all in one nice little neat package. Big fan of this kit. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. Please do consider subscribing, it really does help me out. And if you're on Facebook, please check out Scaled Modelling for Everyone. It's my Facebook page. We've got about 1,200 members so far, and we've only been going a couple of months. A place to share your work. Thanks again, and please do join me for the next video.